Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India. Joining us is Ambassador Ajay Bisaria. He's a former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan and Canada and a former ambassador to Poland and Lithuania. Ambassador, welcome to this broadcast. First up, I want to ask you for your thoughts on this new term we are hearing, new defense doctrine. Now, we are told Operation Sindoor marked a turning point in India's defense doctrine, demonstrating tri-services synergy, strategic depth and technological dominance. And India foiled Pakistan's attempt to target the Golden Temple as well.
Yes, thank you. The new security doctrine, which is essentially Operation Sindoor, underlined it, which is essentially of saying that an act of terrorism is now an act of war and that India has reached a posture of zero tolerance to terrorism. It is really a security posture that India's had for a while. 2016 was when India had surgical ground strikes against terrorism. 2019 was when India executed airstrikes in Balakot as a response to terrorism. But now this has been given the shape of a doctrine. What was a posture is now a clear doctrine after the Pahalgam response with Operation Sindoor. And I think this is now here to stay. So when something takes the shape of a doctrine, it gets embedded into your strategic culture. And the message to the world and to the adversary is that for every Pahalgam, there will be an Operation Sindoor, and the next one will be more powerful than the previous one. And hopefully, with that assertion, there would be a deterrence set up against any such action by Pakistan.
Ambassador, what do you make of India's diplomatic offensive? Delegations comprising lawmakers and officials are being sent and they'll be fanning out across the world. What do you think would be their aims and objectives?
I think there'll be multiple objectives being served here. They would be talking about the new normal of a new security doctrine that India is now sharing with the world and particularly keeping in position for Pakistan. It will also be something that will underline India's unity, because these are multi-party, multi-faith, in a sense, delegations. And it will also be talking about Pakistan's terrorism, because Pakistan on its part is a propaganda state which will go about trying to tell the world that Kashmir needs to be internationalized, which will be trying to get its propaganda message across. So it will, this message, telling the world what the reality is, what the differences between India and Pakistan, and particularly highlighting the issue of terrorism and India's new kind of response. It will also underline a message that the world needs to get together on terrorism, which the world has been slow to do, because this terrorism affects not just India. We've seen its impacts in multiple parts of the world, including in Israel quite recently.
Ambassador Bisaria, we saw the Foreign Secretary brief a parliamentary committee in New Delhi. Do you see a bipartisan consensus evolving? I mean, do you see a political consensus cutting across party lines on this issue?
I certainly see that, notwithstanding some noise that will always happen, some political gaming that will always happen on these issues. That is to be understood in a democracy. But I think the message globally will be a bipartisan one, because I think no political party in India is questioning the excellence shown by the Indian armed forces, and particularly the air power and the huge and clear superiority of the Indian force in the new technological domain, using missiles, drones, loitering munition. So I think there is and will be a bipartisan consensus, even if at the edges there'll be some political sniping.
Indeed. Ambassador, let's now talk a bit, if you will, about Pakistan. We are told that Pakistan's foreign minister is on his visit to China. What do you make of Pakistan-China relations, given what we know about China's role in the conflict in terms of giving Pakistan weaponry and other technologies?
Well, what we saw in the recent episode or the recent conflict was an extraordinary new situation of what was clearly a collusive battlefield, because it was Pakistan using Chinese technology, Chinese weaponry, and 80% armed with Chinese defensive and offensive systems, and operating them, and even with some experts on the ground, we heard. But what it also demonstrated was the huge power differential between the Indian capability and the Pakistan-Chinese capability as exhibited by them. India had indigenous capability, integrating systems and platforms from different partners, including the French, the Israeli, the Americans, the Russians. And what Pakistan had was primarily Chinese and some Turkish equipment. But clearly, in this battlefield test, the Chinese equipment failed. So I suspect that Chinese will ask Pakistan what went wrong, and the Pakistanis will probably complain to the Chinese that they weren't given the best or the latest equipment. They'll probably be making a case for getting more advanced equipment to fight better. They'll also be making a case, I'm sure, about getting more economic help, because there was a lot of pushback at the IMF for the loan that was received by Pakistan. It could dry up because there are tougher conditions coming up, and Pakistan's terrorism behavior will be highlighted by India. So it will be looking to China, and as you know, it's a client state of China. It will be looking to the parent state for help, both militarily and economically, and I think that is what the visit is about.
Absolutely. And finally, Ambassador, if you zoom out and look at the region as a whole, the Indo-Pacific region in particular, what lessons can Taiwan, for instance, or Japan or the Philippines take from India, exposing, as you mentioned, the deficiencies in Chinese military hardware? All of them have ongoing disputes with China.
Certainly, yes. I think it will demonstrate that Chinese equipment is weak, it's vulnerable, and that it can be bested in a battlefield situation. And there will be many lessons to draw, military ones, strategic ones. In this last episode, China was supplying the equipment to Pakistan, but distancing itself diplomatically from the conflict. So it is a behavior that the other potential adversaries of China will study, and I think a lot of lessons should be drawn from this episode of how to deal with a very belligerent China, which is supplying equipment to many dangerous countries like Pakistan.
Or I will leave it there. Ambassador Bisaria, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.